deserve a blow the whistle, tap in mix. I want to be in a bikini top with red nails, a red solo cup, maybe a red lip, just some cream bronzer.
Do it, Shar.
And pop in this ad. I have to do it in my head because COVID.
You can do it in the house.
True, but I want, like little cute everyday people set. Like I'm ready to be in another section, having the girls looking and mean mugging. That's my favorite sport.
Have you gotten your nails done since the pandemic?
So no, what's funny is I just did my nails last night in this kind of like pink flush iridescent color.
It's called a good job.
Thank you. It's called Sugar Daddy by Essie. I talked about that in my last live, and this is the second week in a row I've given myself my pedicure. I do white toes year round, but I just wanted to feel
real very drug dealer girlfriend.
Exactly. And I said, if that makes me a bird, then caw. However, listen, that's why I got beat today, because I was like, the earlier, the more use. I feel like I'm getting bang out of my buck when I wash my face tonight.
You can do a live moment. You can get your selfie moments in. You can FaceTime, the men that have been missing it, yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's what I felt. I wanted to get pretty today. I wanted to go live today. You're filling me up. This conversation has
well, Shar, you are always beautiful. You are always amazing. You're one of my favorite people to talk to. You're probably like the only person that I would ever request to get on live with.
Thank you. I'm literally salivating. So let's pick up where we left off. I should have refreshed my glass. I should have gotten some water, but I'm okay. So let's pick up where we left off. So you're at the gas station. He asks you to get out. You say, boy, fuck you.
And so he asked me for my phone number, and I told him no the first time. And I was like, well, he was like, why not? And I was like, well, what are we going to do? Like, sit on the phone the whole time? Like, I can't, that's not, what is that? And he was like, yeah, we can talk. Like, what's wrong with just talking? What's wrong with just getting to know me? And I was like, you're right. So I gave him my phone number. We FaceTime for like a week or so. He would text me and stuff. He sent me like a selfie every day for like he would text me like a good morning selfie every day, like a little mirror pic or like him still in bed or whatever.
Was he like pressuring you to send any back or?
No, not really. Because at the time I was working from home. And so I wasn't cute for nothing. Like I was like, my brows were a mess. Like I wasn't going to get threaded. Like I was looking real. But
yeah,
he wasn't like pressury about that. But he kind of like felt me out for a couple of weeks to see like, as far as like how I think he was trying to see when it would be appropriate to ask if he could like see me.
Okay.
And so he was like, I want to go on a date with you. And I was like, well, first of all, nothing in Atlanta is open past 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. What a date where? And he was like, if I give you a time and an address, will you just come?
Okay, now hold on. Pause. Let me this is my USC Annenberg pen. I'm not alumni, but it was a gift. Pause. Because I feel like in any other instance, this might be looked at as romantic. Listen, I'm a fan of the thrill as well. You're giving me inspiration to loosen up a little bit, because I'm going to be honest, I probably would have stopped talking to him.
But
if
Shar,
you're asking me to if I give you this address, will you show up? I'm instantly thinking Wayfair cabinets. If you know, allegedly. The alleged Wayfair cabinets. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so here's the thing, Shar. I think our FaceTime conversations were good.
And how many weeks was this before he threw out this idea?
2.5, 3 weeks.
Okay.
And like I said, that's why I said I think he was kind of like feeling me out. Like he was feeling me out as far as like what I was comfortable with, you know. And he basically was like, and like I said, the conversation was good, and he was consistent, and with, you know.
And you trusted, I'm sure you're not a dumb person. I'm sure you trusted your spirit of discernment and it felt
Yeah,
safe. So you were like, okay, I'll entertain this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it's because of just like we had good conversations that didn't feel like surfacey. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So
Um,
did he have you up all night on the phone?
no, see, I don't stay up late anymore. I'm too old for that. I'm like, it was very like and I'm very like a go to sleep around 11 o'clock type of person now.
I
No.
wish.
So no, but we did talk throughout the day, texts, calls, you know, FaceTime. So
Selfies.
yeah. Cute selfie. So um when so I agreed, and the address was his house. But when I got to his house, he was like, I didn't go inside. He had like this, I texted him and I was like, I'm here. And he was like, go around to the back.
So were you guarded up? What did you have? Did you have the nunchucks?
No,
The the
so
380?
I have mace on my keychain, and I have a baseball bat in the back of my Jeep.
Okay. So you pull up at this mysterious address, and once you get there, you get instructed to go around back.
So first of all, the neighborhood was nice. It was very similar to my neighborhood.
Okay.
So that was you know.
No, I know, because if I get invited to like a gated community in Beverly Hills or something like that, and I'm saying like if it's like the same scenario, I would be prone to get out and go around back as well, because there is a sense of safety that comes with more affluent
And Shar,
neighborhoods, if you
it was
will.
nicely lit. You know what I'm saying? Nice manicured lawn. It
Was this
wasn't.
nighttime?
Yes, it was. It was around 8:30, 9 o'clock. So it was just getting dark here because
Okay.
it starts super late here. So I and like you said, like I very much so went with my gut. Like I didn't feel any type of way about it when I was doing it. And of course, later on, when I left, I was like, you know, this really could have been some really weird shit. But when I got out there, when I went around the back, there was like this nice patio. I went up the stairs of the patio, and there was a picnic on the floor. It was like a blanket with like pasta salad, sandwiches, sparkling water. I mean, it was like,
Oh.
yeah, it was like a thing. And so he was just kind of like, he came outside and he was like, surprise. And I was like,
See, the Lifetime movie girl in me would have had him. I would. He would have had. I would have been thinking, like, was the food tampered with? Am I going to take a bite out of this pasta salad and wake up chained to your basement, in your basement?
look, you're the girl that's like, why don't you try some first? And
Yeah,
then
well, why don't you try some of mine? Let me put a little dollop of mine on mine. Look a little different than yours, because I don't listen. I don't want to wake up in your cinder block. You watch You on Netflix. You take a bite of that sandwich, and now you're in the glass box in the storage unit, being tortured by Joe. And Joe is
but
very charming.
but Shar, he was so, first of all, he was really, really nice. And I had a really, really good time. And like um he wasn't like, it was just a very like go with the flow type of, and I'm not gonna say that I'm not a go with the flow type, but I also am one of those type of people. I need to know what's going on. Like
What's
I
your
need
zodiac sign?
I'm a Pisces.
Oh, God.
So I don't like surprises. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
So so the fact that I was so relaxed in that moment was like, it let me know that he had done something right in the interim of like trying to get to know me in those like 2.5, 3 weeks that made me feel comfortable enough to just kind of like relinquish some control. And also because, like I said, I had been tired. Like I wanted to feel some male energy like around me.
I too need some new masculine energy in my life. Everything around here is stale. If you know LA, then you know everything is stale, honey. Moldy. But
let me say something, Shar. All of my friends that live in LA, when they come back to Atlanta, they be like, "Where the niggas at? Like,
where the hood niggas?" You know that video? Where is the hood niggas? I'm looking for the hood.
They be like, "Where are the niggas at? I'm tired of being in LA. Like, where are the niggas at?" So I know that's part of the reason why I ain't came out there yet. Because if I came out,
you ain't missing nothing. Even the transplants. You know, as a woman, I don't know what it would be like as in like gay relationships. From what I see in proximity of my friends, it's like this overarching, push to be like this, like fit. You know, like the Instagram gay, like this, like muscle head type, stylish. But for women,
I don't want any parts of that.
For women, in my experience, just being honest, I'm never short enough. I'm never light enough. I don't have a 3C curl pattern. There's a very specific type of colorism that goes on in Los Angeles. And also, like, there's like anti-blackness, right? Like a lot of black men out here just keeping it a buck. And I'm going to say in my experience, that's how I'm going to frame it, right? In my experience, a lot of black men either want them a Kim Kardashian or an Adrienne Bailon, or like I said, short, light skin, loose curl pattern type girl. And those are all three things that I am not. I'm also not quiet and demure, and like I'm a woman with an opinion. And that goes across the board. Like it's like men, it goes beyond black men with that, because all of the it's a level of patriarchy here. Who are you to pipe up about anything? So,
but Shar, I hate to hear that. You know why? Like, I hate to hear that has been your experience, because anybody that deals with you or doesn't want to deal with you for whatever those reasons are that you just listed, they need to know, like, bitch, you're the catch. You're not the catch in this situation. I'm the catch.
You would think, but I like I told you, it's either fetishism or rejection. And even when there's attraction there, it's like a rejection, like, oh, like I'm attracted to you, but because of who you are. It's not like Shar has bad hygiene, dirt under her nails, breath stank. It's not any of that. It is inherently, because you're trans, I can't move forward with this, which I just chalk up to cowardice. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for my dating experience, specifically in LA, has been, I call it placeholder syndrome, where I'm the girl before the girlfriend. Like I'm the girl you'll do girlfriend things with, and you'll depend on and lean on to uplift you and to be your therapist, and we're doing all this shit. But I'm never the girlfriend, ever the girlfriend.
But
so that's been my experience. And then, hold on, and then I'm also coming off the heels of being conditioned to being loved in the dark. That's been my entire day. Ever since I started, like, really, like, being in, for the streets, so to speak, when I was 14, it's always been, and that's some things that I'm working on undoing myself, as far, like, it's not okay to just love me in the dark, especially if I'm not getting anything worthwhile out of it. Like, if you're gonna love me in the dark, pay my rent type thing. Like, we gotta have a fair trade-off here. And so it's been an evolution, but I'm telling you, sometimes I look back and I'm like, Shar, it's a damn shame that at 32, you're still subjected to a lot of the same nonsense that you were dealing with at 22, a decade ago. It just shows up and manifests in different forms, but it's still there. The nonsense is still there.
I hate that that's been your experience, because you give me so much of, like you said, that energy of like being there for someone, building them up, making them feel, because I don't know about you, but for me, if I'm with you, I'm going to do my best to make you feel like the king you are, as long as you're treating me like the queen that I am.
I agree, and I think I'm a good girlfriend. I'm an ideal, like you said, I'm an ideal candidate. Okay.
Yeah, you give me very much so like LTR vibes, like like the
Wait,
one
what
to two,
LTR? What are LTR
long-term
vibes?
relationship.
I'm an earth sign. So yeah, I'm not here for the riffraff. Let's get on with it, you know?
But you know what? And I think that that could be intimidating for men too. You're very no nonsense. It's like,
Oh yeah. Mm-mm.
yeah,
Mm-mm.
this is what I.
I'm all about having an accountability partner. I expect you to call me out and affirm me because you best believe I'm going to call you out, but I'm also going to affirm you. Like
Yeah.
that, we got to have clear-cut communication. And in my experience, the basis of communication is to be able to be in spaces of accountability. You got to
And
teach people how to treat you.
yeah, there need to be checks and balances in a relationship.
Yeah.
100%. But I
Yeah.
just hate to hear that that's been your experience because I see you as a relationship type of girl. Like
Well, let me
that's
tell you, Brian, it's not in the cards as of yet. And I've been reconciling with the idea that I just might find love later in life. I've been trying to manifest some stuff, but mm-mm, mm-mm.
but also Shar, I mean, I also like I hear that. Like, don't fucking settle for no shit that's beneath you. Like,
Also, what I realize is a lot of the emotions that come with like men, and as far as like with me, with men, are new for me. Like a lot of like these real emotions, and they set me back. That's why like everything feels like a recalibration right now, like a redefining, if you will, because I'm someone, I know I don't have all the answers. I'm always teachable, but I'm
yeah.
someone who thought that I had a general gist, a general, understanding of my emotions and of life. And every once in a while, something will come along as it pertains to like the romance of it all with men that will flip my world upside down or flip my understanding of the world upside down. And then I'm left to start from square one and try to make sense of everything around me and also how people experience me. It's a whole recipe. And I mean, I hate that it's my experience too, but I've grown to understand it as my reality. I've slowed down a lot. When I first moved to LA, I had a bit of a Rolodex. Okay. I was out here, but I'm just being honest. But with age, listen, but with age, I feel like you said, with different experiences with age, it just is like you won't settle. And then I also have a lot of, because I am cis assumed, I have a lot of, disclosing never gets easy. It never gets easy. And
Yeah.
I've had some traumatic experiences from men who told me they knew and then they didn't know type thing. Like that has been like a
Oh,
big, big, big
really?
thing. Yes, and I told this story on my podcast, so I'll keep it brief and tell you. I went on a very, the most romantic date of my life with this Middle Eastern guy.
Oh, I
He's
remember
very,
this. I remember this. Yes.
yes, very handsome. He approached me on Instagram. He slid in my Instagram DMs in like June. And this is back when I was doing weekly Shar Says So videos on YouTube. And in my Shar Says So videos, I was doing pop culture rundowns, but I also had segments named Ask Shar. A lot of them would be from younger trans girls asking certain things about how I navigate certain things. So
Mm-hmm.
this was back when Instagram only allowed us to do 15-second previews. You couldn't put a video,
IGTV, right?
Right. So this guy hit me up in June and he's like, "Oh, I'm so beautiful. He's such a fan of mine." I looked at his pictures and was influenced. I was like, "Oh,
You
okay."
were a fan of his as well.
Yes, I said, "Oh, okay. Maybe I'll keep this DM going." And so we talked for months. And then in September, he said that he wanted to take me out on a date. And I said, sure. He came and picked me up. When I tell you, it was so romantic. He picked me up, got out, opened my passenger side, and in the passenger side was a gift wrap box, right? So he had a gift for me, and I told him I would not open it until I got home. So we go on this date. We went down to Marina Del Rey. We had dinner at a fabulous restaurant overlooking the water. He was very affectionate. I had on a skin tight, well, it wasn't skin tight, but a very, think Beyonce Crazy in Love orange romper. So it was loose in certain places,
But
cinched
hugging the
waist.
right places.
Yes.
Okay.
But kind of had that free-flowing dance sequence type feel to it. And so I remember him being very affectionate, very attentive. We got appetizers, we got entrees and desserts. Afterwards, we went to one of his cousins' hookah bar. This was when hookah was, I know it's still big in Atlanta. It's kind
Oh,
of
hell
died
yeah.
down in LA. And so we did that, and then we got to near to my house, and seats got reclined. Now, I did not have sex with this man, but there was some kissing and some touching. But keep in mind, my romper was so tight, like,
Hugging the right places.
right, I wasn't going to disrobe. Plus, I am too old to be messing around in cars.
In the
Okay,
car. Thank
been
you.
there, done that in high
Thank you.
school.
Thank you, Shar.
So what happens is I forgot to tell you. So on the ride home, he's holding my hand as he's driving his car, which was very nice. Custom car. He had coin. He worked in construction, but he wasn't the one laying the brick. He was the one with the checklist, making sure you're laying the brick right, like architecture type.
Lay that brick.
Okay. And so, but he was talking to me about how traditional his family is, and talking about some red flags for me, just with me being Black, and how that might, because he, you know, he was Middle Eastern, he was Armenian.
Yeah.
And how that might not sit well with certain family members. And I was like, but what threw me off, mind you, this man said that he had watched my videos. He's such a fan. In our conversation, because we talked for like 4 months, in our conversation, I told him, well, I asked him, are you watching the Instagram preview, or are you watching the whole video? He said, oh no, babe, I'm clicking the link. The videos are dope. I love I can listen to you talk all day, which isn't the first time I also dated a guy, soft dated. It wasn't like it was soft dating. And he used to be like, one day you're going to have to read bedtime stories to me. Like, I'm obsessed with
your voice.
So, this guy is like, no, I can listen to you talk all day, baby. I'm watching your videos like in full. And I'm like, okay.
He's laying it on thick.
And mind you, within the video context, I'm talking about trans issues and how it relates to being trans. For me, my personal walk. And so as we're riding to my house, he's holding my hand and he's like, it just floors me. Like, you got so much going on for you. You're so beautiful. It just floors me that you don't have like any children or anything tying you down right now. First red flag, okay? Because I'm in the car like, why would I? Children? I don't want no damn kids. And why would you? That's something that you'd say to a cis woman, right? So I'm just focused on getting home at this point. So I'm playing my cards. Right. I get home. Soft dating, Nina, I call it's a joke. Soft dating is like when you're just kind of getting to know someone, like you're talking. His name was Corey. That was that was years ago. But anyway, this guy, whose name was Nick, I don't mind saying names, he when he said that to me, a little red flag went off in my head, right? Because
hold on, let me stop you right there, Shar. So when things like that happen, I understand red flag, but do you get scared, or does it make you more apprehensive? Does it like change, not necessarily like overtly to them, but inside, do you kind of like shift gears? Like, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Cause now I'm more alert. And at the time I was not like today. I probably would be very scared. At the time I was young. How old was I when this happened? I had to be like 27. And there were certain traumas that hadn't set in yet for me. So, yeah. But I was on high alert, and I was thinking, Shar, we are flying down the 405 going back to the valley, and now is not the time, if any, to be disclosing anything, right, because my life is literally in this man's hands.
Right.
So we get back to my house. We get out. I get out. You know, there's some kissing and touching. I take my gift, go in the house, wake up my roommates. They were so mad at me, but I was like, oh my God, because it was such a damn romantic date. I had never been courted fully like that before. And when
the way you wanted to be courted.
Yes. And so the caveat was, when I opened the gift, it was a gift wrapped fragrance set of a perfume that I told him that I liked, just in conversation, that we had this conversation like back in July. So the fact that he showed, and you know, like the value, I used to work behind the makeup counter at Macy's and stuff. The value of the fragrance was $100.
You knew what the tea was.
Because listen, it had a little lotion, you know, I hate those things. Like, I'll mix it, you know. I'm not a fan of fragrance lotions, but I thought that was such a sweet gesture. And so he wanted to go out with me the next day. And I remember, I am such a drama queen, really. I called him. I went in because I had a little walk-in closet in this place that I live. And I went in my closet and I closed the door and I got on the floor and I called him and I disclosed. And some things were said that I don't feel comfortable repeating on live. They weren't necessarily bad, but they were tone deaf. They weren't mean, but they were tone deaf. And then he just was like, because he was in shock. And I was like, well, see, that's why I asked if you were watching my videos, which was not safe on my end. Like now I make it explicitly clear. There's no need to tap dance around who I am because I'm tired of turning down aspects of myself to make men feel comfortable. The reality is I am Black, I am a woman, and I am trans. And all three of those things are going to show up at the same time. That's just what it is. Okay. Because turning down my transness hadn't gotten me nowhere. That hadn't saved me in any aspect, so to speak, when it comes to that. Hasn't protected my heart, you know. And it can only last for so long, even when they do know. That can only last for so long before then they're asking of something else for me, you know. And so I disclosed to him, and he told me. I remember he told me he would call me back, and he never called back. And later, this was like September. And then later that year, I ended up texting him like an idiot. I was 27. I texted him like around the holidays. And I told him Merry Christmas. And his response was, who is this? And that's the last time I talked to him. But
you know what, Shar, though? That is the fact that he lied about watching the full, it just,
but see, that would have reflected back on me. He lied about watching my full videos, but had something happened, had I disclosed, and he would have implemented some sort of violence or something on me. And that's what's been the root of my depression in all of this. If I'm being honest, it hasn't been COVID quarantine. It's been realizing that my life as a Black trans woman fundamentally does not matter to anyone, to quite literally anyone. And if God forbid if something should happen to me at the hands of a man, it will always be my fault. It will always be my fault. And so processing.
That's so crazy to hear you say that, because I would, knowing you and being a part of the community, I never would think about it in that way. But you're absolutely right.
Always. Because these men, a lot of them know that they can inflict violence on women like me, and they always have a community to run back to. The community, men, women, and others will embrace them with open arms because that is the narrative that's put out there. And like I said, but that's something that I came to know later on. Like, had I disclosed to him, had he tricked me or whatever for a second date and inflicted any type of harm on me, it would have, people don't care about details and nuances when it comes to trans bodies or trans stories. The John Q. public is always going to make it the trans person's fault. Literally always. And I've seen countless examples of it. And
that literally hurt. Like, that literally hurts my heart to hear that. Like, that. I mean, because I have never thought about it in that way before.
Yeah.
And I guess because, like, for me,
I think
like, you telling that story is like, that's why I asked, like, were you afraid? Does it automatically make you just have a shift? Like, what, like?
No, and then it's come up in different ways. Because I've been on I haven't been on a date in a while. The last guy I went on a date with, he knew. It didn't go anywhere though, you know, and we're working, like, we were on a friend type basis now, but at the time I was like kind of like pursuing him, you know. But I went on a very nice date last year, July 1st, with a DJ. It was very nice. We went to Yard House, and then we went to go see a movie in one of those reclining theaters.
Okay.
And so I was like perched up. He had his hand on my thigh. Late night movie, and then he gave me a ride home. I did not invite him up. He was trying to come up, but I did not.
But you're a lady.
Huh?
You're a lady.
Sometimes. That means sometimes. In the words of the late great Whitney Houston. Sometimes. But so yeah, I've been on that. That's not to take away from the nice experiences that I've had, but there's always anxiousness. Like, for me, disclosure it'll never be easy. And you never can gauge how people are going to react. You can never. There are men to this day. There's one guy that I know that got mad at me. They got mad at me. I met him years ago with a group of cis women, and he was feeling me. I didn't know this. I was just sitting around being Shar. He thought I was funny. He thought I was bright, smart, sharp, got a good head on her shoulders, and he
And you
was
were all of
attracted to
those
me.
things.
He was attracted. Thank you. He was attracted to me, and there was this guy who ended up spilling my tea when I was gone. This got back to me from a friend. This guy, because people, I have noticed that people love telling my story, you know, technically without my consent. Even gay men. Even gay men. I feel like I'm a party trick sometimes, like I'm the rabbit out of the hat. They love telling my story without me having agency over it. But we can talk about that later. But anyway, once this person told him, like, you know, she's trans, right? I had gone for the day. He then got mad at me. And so that speaks to a larger symptom of all of our favorite social media buzzwords of toxic masculinity, trans misogynoir, misogyny, sexism. How are you going to get mad at me? Mind you, I wasn't looking at him in that way. He's cute. Right. He's easy on the eyes, but I was not attracted to him in the ways that he was attracted to me. Right. And so it's annoying. It's annoying.
Yeah. You're mad at me because of what you felt?
Mind you, I would have never known this because he and I are cordial. You know, he and I are cordial today. Like when I see him, which is like few and far in between, maybe once or twice a year on some hi bye type stuff. And what's crazy is the last time I saw him, he was on some where my hug at type shit. Like that type thing, you know, like I'm leaving and he like, and I'm like, and mind you, he has a girlfriend. He has a girlfriend. So he doesn't know that I know this though. So, and that happened years ago. So I'm just like, let me mind my business.
But you know what, Shar? Interestingly enough, that sort of thing happens to me sometimes. I don't know.
I'm sure.
I don't know if you know, but like I have my body is like kind of curvy a little bit. So sometimes behind, and I have long hair. So sometimes from behind, like I've gotten mistaken for, you know, and when I turn, you know, somebody might say something somebody might say something to me like, oh, sweetheart, and I'll turn around and now you're mad at me. I haven't done anything, but
you're not doing anything but being who you are.
I'm just walking.
And you don't get to take your anger out on me because you were attracted to me. I refuse to live my life. And see, that's the thing. I have been, and I have to attribute Takia Robinson for this. She's a host on the Getting Grown podcast. Mm-hmm. She tweeted something that really stuck with me about how this trauma that I'm experiencing is not God's assignment for my life. So I can address it, but I refuse to live my life in this carousel of trauma. I'm not doing that. Because we're not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time, okay?
Yeah.
So I am going to find unabashed ways. Any pocket that I can get of joy, I'm taking it, and I'm not making apologies for it. I'm not performing on the internet for y'all. I am not doing anything that I don't want to do. I'm not saying anything that I don't want to say. If I feel compelled to comment on something, I'm going to do it. If I don't, I'm minding my business. Maybe I'm binging, you know, Unsolved Mysteries for the second time. Yeah. But this trauma, these experiences are not, I firmly believe, are not God's assignment for my life. And I'm not going to sit in it and dwell in it because I found myself being a prisoner of my own thoughts. And like I said, not because of things that had happened to me per se. Because what's happened to me, there's probably trans women watching this that are like, oh, Shar, that ain't nothing. That ain't nothing. Because there's a lot of, like I mentioned, secondary trauma. I hear stories. I'm in conversation with community, and I'm like, you know, sometimes you take that on, whether you want to or not.
Absolutely.
And as a journalist, there's a lot of stuff, you know, that I'm sitting on, that I'm constantly being fed. Thank you, my love. That I'm constantly being fed, and it's hard to filter it because I'm not one of those girls in one ear out the other. It's hard to decompress.
But Shar, 100%, because you just telling me what you said about really feeling like, or knowing in yourself that, you know, men, cis women will always make it your fault.
Mm-hmm.
that made me tear up to hear you say that. Like, I don't know if you could tell, but I was like a little misty hearing you say that, because you can't hear stories like that and not be affected by knowing that somebody feels unprotected all the time. Like, that is.
And Brian, that is why I took a bit of a back seat. You know, I went on a rant on June 4th that has garnered quite the number, but went on a rant after Ayanna Dior was publicly mobbed at that Minneapolis gas station, because I think, like I was mentioning, I think when one of my friends asked me the other night, he said, Shar, what do you think the trigger point is for what you're going through right now? Because I feel like I'm coming out on the other end of it. And up until then, I had never entertained the thought. No one had ever asked me the question. And I think that honest to God, the trigger point for my depression, because I was doing fine. I was doing fine in quarantine. I was doing the best that I could, marathon living. It was that week leading into Memorial Day when we started out with Amy Cooper and ended with George Floyd. Mm-hmm. And as a Black woman, as a Black person, as a member of this community, I too had a visceral, emotional reaction to seeing these Black bodies in the street. And it felt like something that I had never experienced before, as far as the galvanizing of our community. Everyone felt like we were on the same page, fist up, we're protesting. But when you boil it down, a huge chunk was like Black Lives Matter, but over there, I don't know. Like, I still felt othered. And that sent me spiraling. The fact that I had to sit on these shows. I'm on Claudia Jordan's show. I'm on the radio. People are calling me for press inquiries. And what I'm talking about isn't fun. I'm not talking about Khloe Kardashian's, new diet or anything crazy like that. What I'm talking about is I'm pleading to people, like, if you're not going to acknowledge trans women as women, please acknowledge our humanity, our very fundamental, basic personhood, and maybe try not to kill us. Maybe try not to be complicit in the violence that we face. Maybe just try. And there were still people saying, but there were still people where I got veins coming out of my forehead, driving a point home, who got nothing from it other than, well, I don't like being called sis. And so it's one of those things where the positive feedback was nice. It was great. But it's like those little trolls. And what I should note is no one came for me like individually. Like, no one hopped in my mentions. No one DM'd me. But I did see certain things. And also, I'm going to go public and say this. I saw a comment that there was a Black man that commented and said that he would rather Dylan Roof walk free than to respect trans women. Dylan Roof, walk free. So, and I know that he is not representative of Black men as a whole, but there is a certain tone deafness that I have found with even the most progressive of Black men, where it doesn't seem like they are truly and fully invested in liberation for all of us. They seem to be invested in having a seat at the table instead of dismantling the table. And I think that it goes back to them at large, because they still have that patriarchy. They still have that manhood. They are not affected by things that women and LGBT people are affected at. And so it's like, how can I then be on the front lines for you and champion for why your life matters? And I know that none of this is being reciprocated. Y'all don't even pay attention to cis Black women. So why am I wasting my time? Like, that's literally how I felt. And I didn't realize that that was like the avalanche that led into my depression, until my friend asked me, Shar, what do you think the trigger point was? And then I dealt with some other stuff, some personal stuff that I don't want to get into on live. But it's just very hard being a member of this community and a functioning member of society, and still feeling like, and I've talked to a lot of other trans women about this, still feeling ousted. And so I tip my hat to the trans girls who are still on the front line, who still have found time to find empathy for cis-het Black men, because I'm struggling. I'm not saying that I don't have it, but it is a struggle, because their visions and their depictions of liberation hardly even include cis Black women. So who the hell am I to be? I'm all about self-preservation, and you're draining me. You're draining me, because oftentimes when things happen or affect Black trans women, it's only really other Black trans women talking about it. It's not even the LGBT community at large. And so, yeah, these conversations are very nuanced. They're very lengthy, but it's been very, very hard for me to stand in that space. And I've really had to examine some of my relationships and friendships with a lot of cis-het men, as far as like, oh, I get a pass because I fit your version. I include femininity and womanhood like you like, but my sister, who might be struggling or who might not subscribe to the things that I subscribe to as far as presentation, she don't get your respect? No, because if you do it to her, you'll do it to me. And you don't have permission to do it to me. That's what a young Levin taught me.
Yeah.
Like,
and a lot of times they won't, like you said, and it kind of was triggering for me that you said that, like, a lot of times gay men will subscribe to telling your story without.
Oh my God.
It sucks that we can't just respect each other.
Gay men, I have a friend, and I know he don't mean no harm, but, you know, I was hanging out with him and his cousin, and a lot of, what I do want to say is a lot of gay men that I call friends, they get it, right? So I don't even have to have these conversations, but there was this one friend of mine who's like, oh, I dropped my cousin off at the airport, and I just had to tell her. She gagged. And my thing is, the 2 or 3 days I might have spent with you and your cousin hanging out, I don't bring my transness up if it's not pertinent to the conversation, okay? And that's not me, you know, inflicting shame or anything. That is just fundamentally who I am, and I don't care who doesn't like it. I'm not the type of girl to take to the street wearing a trans is beautiful t-shirt. That's just not me, and that's okay. And so the fact that you felt the need to disclose my business to your cut, like, how is that pertinent to anything that we did, any experience that we had,
and
any
the
conversation?
And the fact that she framed it that way as, oh, I just had to tell her, and she
gagged. And like she gagged type thing, and it's like, like I said, I feel like a party trick sometimes, you know. That
sucks, and that fucking sucks that that person is your friend and thought that that was okay.
Because you know what I realize is a lot of people are still learning. There at large, there are a lot of people who are still ignorant, including myself. I'm ignorant to some things. I've never proclaimed to know it all, but I'm always teachable.
But Shar, there's a way. Your ignorance shouldn't prohibit you from also being just a good friend. I just feel like there's just certain things that just the respect piece of it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just like telling somebody, I just feel like it's as small or large as telling somebody something about you that you didn't talk about or bring up at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, or it's as large or as small as saying, like, girl, you know that was a wig she had on.
Yes, or girl, she got evicted last month. Like these little like.
Yeah, it's like, why did you need to say that for the gag? That wasn't like, how did that help or hurt you?
So Ryan comments and asks, what is the balance though? Giving people the space to learn versus you not tolerating that. And what I'll say is it's case by case.
Yeah, 100%.
That's case by case. Nina says, to me, that says they feel being trans is playing dress up or being deceitful. You know what? There is some underlying, with some gay men and some trans women, there is an underlying tug of war. And it's a tug of war that's intercommunal. And if you know, you know. And I don't participate in that because to me, it all leads back to the attention of men. And I don't want to participate in that. I don't, that's, Shar doesn't have a dog in that fight. If you all participate in that, that's your business. But Shar,
I don't participate in it either.
No, men are fundamentally not, especially, men are, all I'm going to say is men, in my experience, are not at large the prize. And because we live in a patriarchal society where they are uplifted and made to feel as if they are the prize, that is why they're able to get away with anything. That's why there's baby mamas and Like they're literally able to get away with anything. So I'm trying to do, like I said, within a lot of the Black feminist theory that I've been reading, I've been really trying to dismantle a lot of the things that I have come to know, and just like the ways that the world has informed me and my womanhood and my femininity. But also I've been challenged really to look at the ways in which I'm contributing to some of this stuff. And so, and it's a journey, right? You're not going to read one book and get all of the answers, but I'm definitely working through some things, because most men, in my experience, most men that I've liked, it's just been like, come on now, come on now.
But you know what, Shar, I really am. I'm glad that this conversation took that turn, because, you know, like, I think part of the reason why there is ignorance also is because people are afraid to ask, and I know that sometimes, like, people think that asking questions or having questions is, like, you know, kind of offensive, and sometimes we tend to walk on eggshells about how people feel are to certain things, especially when it comes to topics about, you know, like disclosure and all of those sort of things. So it is one of those things where if you don't know and you never ask, you're never going to know. And if you fear knowledge and if you fear asking questions, then you're going to remain in the dark about them. And
But
so
see,
hearing
listen,
you,
listen. My thing is,
oh,
I come from the school of thought where anything can be asked. It's just the way in which you gotta be linguistic enough. You know, you gotta pull out your internal Merriam-Webster. There is a way, a tone, and a approach that the question can be asked. And also, you know, what you might ask one girl, people also struggle with not looking at transness as monolithic. There are tons of trans women, public, you know, or have public platforms, who I love and adore and respect their contributions to the conversation, to the culture. But there are tons of things I don't agree with them on. Tons of things. And I'm sure the feeling is mutual.
yeah,
And so people have this monolithic approach, like, oh, this, my homegirl from around the block let me use this language or say this. Why can't I? It's almost like you can also almost compare it to like those certain Black people who give white people a pass to say the N-word, and then those white people carry that energy into Black spaces, and it's like, you said nigga. Oh, but
yeah,
Deshaun from around the block. This isn't that. And so I think
this
that
ain't
people
the
have
time.
they have a hard time deconstructing that every trans woman that you meet is different, much like every Black person you meet, every woman you meet, every man you meet is different. And they paint a lot of things with one brush, and that is harmful. That is harmful,
Yeah,
because her story is
yeah,
not my story. How she views the world might not be how I view the world, and that needs to be respected and honored. So it also depends on, like you said, the question can be asked, but certain questions go to certain people.
yeah. And you have to be sensitive to both, and you have to respect both.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I love, I guess what I said that to say was just, I love your openness about it and being able to articulate it in the way that Shar articulates things. You know, that is very it's special that it's really special that you have that gift, because everybody doesn't have that. And I really appreciate that about you, and always have. And I think I tell you that almost every time that we do this, is
Yes.
that you
Yes.
is that you have your Sharisms, and the Shar way that you do things is really just it is very important, and it really is special. And I thank you so much for that, and I appreciate that about you.
Thank you. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm just trying to stay afloat. Like I mentioned to you, it's for me, it is all about self-preservation. So I can't come to the internet and perform in the ways that people need me to perform, and to do things. Like, I literally am going with the flow. I have not been on live in at least a solid month and some change, I feel like. And today
And here
I
I
felt
was
it.
just thinking that you weren't going on live because Insecure wasn't on anymore.
No, no, I love these conversations. You know, listen, I'm a girl that lives alone, and I have my Zoom happy hours, I have my FaceTimes, but sometimes I enjoy public discussion, especially
Yeah,
because I'm not in that arena right now. Like, I'm not doing anything really where I can,
yeah,
you know, do my shtick, you know. So yeah, I felt it in my bones to come and have conversation today. I didn't know it was going to take this turn. Like I said, I had a
I
script.
know. Look, I'm gonna leave you alone. I'm gonna leave you alone. But I do want to say this, Shar. You are important to me. You are important to us, and I just, I really just, I have an immense amount of respect and love for you. I think that
Thank
you are
you.
incredible, and just I think that you are a much needed voice and really just a breath of fresh air. And honestly I have felt that about you since the first time that we met at Zen Lounge all
Yeah.
those years ago. Like that is I immediately when I met you, I went to Casey and I was like, who is she? I need to know who she is. Where did she come from? Like, who is she? I felt that from you. And so I want to leave you with that and saying that I think that you are just really, you are growing to be like a pillar in the world, and especially a voice for your community, this community, and beyond. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Woo! What are you trying to do to me? What are you trying to do to me?
I'm just telling the truth. That's just what you give me. Energy, like,
Sorry, I had just gotten a FaceTime call that I had
no,
to ignore. But anyway,
de-
we're gonna wrap
decline.
this up. You all are doing too much in the comments, please. Never ending Nina, you
This
said
is a Shar Stan account.
that Never ending Nina, did you still, because Nina, did you want to still go live? Because Nina said she wanted up next after you. Let
Go
me
ahead,
know.
go live.
Let me know, Nina. If she says yes or no, that will determine if this is the end and I'm going to Postmate something, or if I'll continue going for a third hour. Listen, I'm feeling it
Yeah, come
today.
back, Shar. We want to hear what you have to say about what's been going on.
Okay, so we're going to end this. Thank you, Brian, for joining me. This was fun.
Thank you always.
And I will be back in like 5 minutes. I just need to wet my whistle, maybe powder, because you made me hot. Like I'm literally on the verge of tears and sweat. And then I'll be back literally, let's shoot for in 5 minutes. And I'll go live
Okay,
with
love
Nina.
you, Shar.
Love you as well. Thank you all for joining me. See you in 5.